On a quiet Sunday evening, a man sent a message that no one understood at the time. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't emotional. It was calm, almost casual. The message said, "If something happens to me, please don't assume it was an accident." At the time, it sounded strange. Now it sounds terrifying. A normal life on the surface. Daniel Harper was 38 years old, married, one child, stable job. He lived in a clean, middle-class neighborhood where nothing ever happened. The kind of place where doors were left unlocked and neighbors waved without thinking. No enemies, no criminal history, no obvious problems. At least that's what everyone believed. The message that changed everything. The message was sent to 3 people: his wife, his brother, and a close friend from work. Each received the same words. No explanation, no follow-up. When they asked him what he meant, Daniel replied with a single sentence: "I can't talk about it yet." That was the last time anyone saw him alive. The death ruled an accident. 2 days later, Daniel was found dead. His car had gone off a rural road late at night. No witnesses, no skid marks. Police ruled it an accident within hours. Fatigue, loss of control, case closed. But the message changed everything. Why would someone predict their own death? Investigators asked the obvious question. Why would a man who expected an accident warn people in advance? People don't predict accidents. They predict danger? Cracks in the official story. When the family pushed back, small inconsistencies appeared. The car showed no mechanical failure. The road was familiar to Daniel. Weather conditions were clear. And most disturbing of all, Daniel had not been speeding. A life under pressure. As investigators quietly reopened the case, they uncovered something hidden beneath Daniel's calm life. Late-night phone calls, unexplained meetings, a sudden change in behavior weeks before his death. Someone had scared him, enough to make him leave a warning behind. Daniel Harper didn't just die. He knew it was coming, and whatever he had discovered was powerful enough to silence him forever. After the funeral, life was supposed to move on. It didn't. Daniel's warning sat in the back of everyone's mind. Quiet, heavy, unanswered. His wife couldn't let it go. The laptop that was never used. Daniel had 2 laptops, one for work, one personal. The personal laptop was strange. No emails, no browsing history, no saved files. It looked wiped, not broken, not damaged. Wiped clean. Daniel wasn't careless. He was organized, methodical. He wouldn't erase everything without a reason. A hidden folder. A technician recovered fragments of deleted data. Not much, but enough. There was a folder. It had been renamed multiple times. Accessed late at night. Deleted just hours before Daniel died. Inside were encrypted files. Someone didn't want those files found. The work angle. Daniel worked for a logistics company. On paper, it was boring. Behind the scenes, it handled sensitive shipments. High value, high risk. Internal audits revealed something troubling. Certain shipments were being rerouted, paperwork altered, signatures missing. Daniel's employee ID appeared on the logs, but he had never approved them. The first confrontation. Phone records showed Daniel had called a senior manager repeatedly in the days before his death. Those calls were never returned. Instead, Daniel received calls from a blocked number. Short, late at night, always after he tried to escalate concerns. That's when his behavior changed. Fear without words. Daniel stopped talking freely. Friends noticed. He began parking in different places, checking his mirrors, leaving rooms to take calls. Classic signs of someone who felt watched. The accident revisited. The crash site was re-examined. A detail had been missed. The guardrail damage didn't match the angle of impact. The car didn't drift. It had been forced, a controlled push, not a loss of control. Someone else was there. Tire marks were found, not Daniel's. Another vehicle had stopped nearby that night. Long enough to matter, short enough to disappear. Daniel didn't just uncover corruption. He uncovered something people were willing to kill for. And in the next part, investigators would discover that Daniel wasn't the first person to die after asking questions. When investigators looked deeper into Daniel's workplace, they weren't searching for answers anymore. They were searching for a pattern. And they found one. A name buried in old records. 5 years earlier, another employee had died. Mark Ellison, mid-level analyst. Clean record. Good reputation. His death had been ruled a heart attack. At 34, no family history. No medical warning signs. At the time, no one questioned it. Now it felt familiar. Too many similarities. Mark had worked in the same department as Daniel. He had flagged irregular shipment data weeks before his death. Emails showed concern. Requests for clarification. Escalations that went nowhere. Then the emails stopped. So did Mark. A quiet cleanup. Internal records showed something else. After Mark's death, audit procedures were changed. Logs were reassigned. Access levels were restricted, not to improve security, to limit visibility. Someone was cleaning up. Daniel's last week. Phone metadata painted a clear picture. Daniel had accessed the same shipment records Mark once questioned. He had reopened closed cases. He had started documenting everything. And he had shared his concerns with one person outside the company, the wrong person to trust. That person was a compliance consultant, someone hired by the company, someone who reported directly to senior leadership. Daniel believed he was protected. He wasn't. The meeting that never happened. Calendar data showed a scheduled meeting. Daniel, 2 executives, and the consultant. The meeting was canceled, rescheduled, canceled again. Instead, Daniel received a late-night call. After that call, he sent the warning message. Evidence of pressure. Audio recovered from Daniel's car revealed something chilling. A voicemail saved but never sent. Daniel's voice was calm but controlled. "If I stop pushing, will this end?" There was no reply. The second death looks different. With Mark's case reopened, medical experts reviewed his autopsy. A rare chemical was found in trace amounts, one that could trigger sudden cardiac failure, one that metabolizes quickly, one that's hard to detect unless you know to look. The pattern is clear. 2 employees, same department, same concerns, same outcome, different methods, same silence. This was no longer about Daniel Harper. It was about a system designed to eliminate risk. And in the next part, investigators would uncover how Daniel tried to protect his family before it was too late. Daniel knew he was running out of time, and he didn't try to save himself. He tried to save his family. The safety plan. No one noticed. Hidden in Daniel's email drafts was a message never sent. It wasn't addressed to a person. It was addressed to a cloud storage service. Inside were instructions. If Daniel failed to log in for 72 hours, the folder would unlock automatically. No passwords, no approvals, no way to stop it. The dead man's switch. Investigators realized what Daniel had done. He had created a dead man's switch. Inside the folder were shipment manifests, internal emails, audio recordings, screenshots of altered data, everything he had been afraid to share. A message to his wife. There was also a personal note, short, clear, direct. "If anything happens to me, this is not your fault. Protect our child. Don't trust anyone from work." He had already accepted the outcome. The final conversation. Phone logs revealed Daniel's last call. It wasn't to his wife. It wasn't to police. It was to the compliance consultant. The call lasted 4 minutes. After that, Daniel drove and never came back. A forced decision. Investigators believed Daniel had been given a choice. Stay silent and disappear quietly, or keep pushing and make things public. The warning message was his answer. The switch activates. 72 hours after Daniel's death, the folder unlocked. The data didn't go to one place. It went to many. Journalists, regulators, independent auditors. Daniel had made sure it couldn't be buried. The company responds. The company denied everything, then issued statements, then placed executives on leave, then stopped talking entirely. The silence was louder than denial. The risk spreads. Authorities realized something terrifying. If Daniel was right, this operation had been running for years. Profitable, hidden, protected, and now it was exposed. Daniel's death was no longer just suspicious. It was dangerous, because the truth he released threatened powerful people. And powerful people do not fall quietly. The fallout began fast, and then it became very quiet. The first arrests. Regulators moved in quietly, not with cameras, but with warrants. Financial crimes units, transport authorities, federal investigators. Accounts were frozen, offices searched, servers seized. 2 senior executives resigned within a week. They said it was for personal reasons. No one believed that. The consultant disappears. The compliance consultant never showed up for questioning. His apartment was empty. No phone, no computer, no forwarding address. It was as if he had erased himself. That disappearance became its own investigation. Daniel's death reclassified. Daniel Harper's death was officially reclassified. Not an accident, a homicide. The report was careful with words. Third-party involvement likely. It wasn't the justice his family wanted, but it was the truth. The second body count. Mark Ellison's death was also re-examined. This time, the conclusion was direct. Poisoning. Delayed. Intentional. Undetectable unless you knew what to test for. 2 deaths. Same motive. Why no one went to prison. And yet, years later, no one had been convicted. Cases stalled. Evidence became classified. Witnesses withdrew. The investigation hit walls that weren't legal. They were political. Daniel's real victory. But Daniel hadn't been trying to win in court. He had been trying to stop the system. The exposure cost the company billions. Contracts were canceled. Partners walked away. The operation collapsed. Quietly. A family that survived. Daniel's wife changed her name, moved cities, started over. She never gave interviews, but she kept one message saved. The warning that started it all. The final thought. Daniel predicted his death. Not because he was afraid, but because he understood something most people don't. When truth threatens power, silence becomes lethal. End note for viewers. If this story made you uncomfortable, it should have. Because cases like this don't end. They just fade from the headlines.